All right, how's it going everyone? Coach Braden here with Look Like You Lift, and we are gonna be doing a new lifting series where we're gonna teach you exactly how to squat, press, deadlift, chin up, and we're gonna be using a dummy here who I've never worked with before to show you exactly how we do this from scratch. So we're gonna start with the low bar back squat. We teach the squat position from the ground up in a body weight first. So I'm gonna start with Preston. I'm gonna have you stand right here and face me. And we wanna start with the heels shoulder width apart. So widen your stance. You're more broad than that, so widen your stance, a little bit wider. Okay, so now his heels are shoulder width apart, and from here he's gonna turn his toes out 30 degrees. Okay, so that's your squat stance. All right. Now this will vary from person to person, but for most people, this is the stance that we want. From here, I'm gonna have you bring your hands up like you're about to pray. Now, you're gonna reach your hips back as far as you can, then you're gonna bend over and then push your knees out with your elbows at the bottom. Okay, go ahead and do that for me. Okay, so now his elbows are inside his knees. Now his depth is actually a little low here. I'm actually gonna bring his hips up a little bit. Puff up your chest for me. And he's gonna look down at the floor about 5 feet ahead of him. This is his squat stance. This is the bottom of his squat, and this is how it should look like when we actually put a barbell on his back. Now, Preston, to stand up, I don't want you to think about standing up. I want you to think about shooting your hips up as if you're trying to get your hips to touch the ceiling. Okay, go. Good. Do that again with more power. So push the knees out, again, not too deep. There you go, big chest and hips to the ceiling, go. Good. So now for us to replicate this movement a little bit more, what we're trying to do is feel hip drive. We're letting the hips be the primary mover here. So I'm gonna push on your hips, and I want you to push against my hands as you drive your hips up. Okay, so squat back down, knees out, look down, push against my hip, hands go. Good. So do that one more time. Look down to the floor, push against my hands. Good. So that's hip drive. So we're using our hips in the low bar squat. When we're not using our hips and we're thinking about our legs, we're gonna be missing out on a lot of power, which means we're not gonna be able to lift as much weight. Now, you'll notice that I've had Preston looking down at the floor the entire time we're doing this. I'm actually gonna have him look at the ceiling, and I'm gonna have Preston tell me which one he thinks feels better. Okay, so we're gonna do another one, but you're gonna look at the floor, and then you're gonna do another one where you're gonna look at the ceiling, okay? So get in your stance, push your knees out, bend over, look down to the floor, push against my hands, go. Okay, now do that again. Squat down, and I want you to look all the way up at the ceiling for me. Okay, go ahead. So which one felt more natural? Which one felt easier?
Looking down felt a lot more natural.
Right, so looking down to the floor allows for you to use your hips much more effectively. So I'm not a big fan of having people look at the ceiling for a couple reasons. You probably felt a little unstable when you did that, right?
Yeah.
Looking down at the floor keeps you stable because you have a focal point that you can keep your eyes on. So now that we've practiced this position and we've gone through everything, make sure that everything looks good, he looks great, now we're gonna add a barbell into the equation. We're now gonna go over the rack position in the squat. So I'm gonna have Preston turn around and Casey come here. If you were to reach behind you and touch your back, you're gonna feel a bony process. You feel that hard bone right there? We want the barbell to be right underneath that bone. So if Preston pulls his shoulder blades together like that, and the barbell was to sit right underneath that bone, we have a nice little meat shelf that we can place the barbell on. I'm actually gonna have Preston take off his hoodie so we can see that a little bit better. Okay, so there's the bony process right here. He's gonna pull his shoulder blades together and pull your elbows back a little bit too. And you're gonna feel all of this muscle get really, really tight, and that's where that barbell is gonna sit. So now we're gonna go over how to place the hands on the bar. So again, I'm gonna have Casey come in here. First things first, when we're talking about grip on the barbell, we wanna take what's called a false grip, where we're not wrapping the thumb around the bar like this. Okay, the thumb is actually gonna be on top of the bar like this. And the heel of the palm is gonna be pushed into the bar. So I'm gonna go ahead and have Preston grab on the barbell wherever it feels natural, wherever feels normal for him. Okay, heel of the palm is gonna be pushed up into the bar, and then he's gonna place that barbell right underneath that bony part of his scapula. Okay, now we have some flexion here in this wrist, which means that this is actually too narrow of a grip. So I'm gonna have him rack it again, and we're gonna widen the grip with the heel of the palm pushed into the bar. Okay, thumb on top of the bar, heel of the palm, there you go, okay? Go ahead and get yourself set up. Good, now that's actually too low. So shift yourself up a little bit. Up more, up here, there you go. Okay, that's the position that we want, okay? So that's a pretty good position. So does that feel tight and uncomfortable?
Not too bad.
Then that means it's not tight enough. So go ahead and rack it. Bring your hand in just a little bit. Heel of the palm pushed into the bar. And this is a cue that I use, but I'm actually gonna glue him here and go ahead and get set up under your bar again. Okay, now puff up your chest and unrack the weight. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's tight.
It's tight and uncomfortable? That's exactly what we want. We don't want it feeling comfortable. So now that we have him set up, he's gonna take one step out and he's gonna assume his squat stance that we just worked on. So a little bit wider stance, toes turned out 30 degrees, big chest. Okay, so now you're gonna give me 5 repetitions looking down at the floor, but only 2 things have changed here. I'm no longer pushing on your hips. You have a barbell on your back now, and you're no longer pushing your knees out with your elbows. You gotta use your big brain to do that now. Okay, we're gonna do 5 repetitions. You're gonna sit back and bend over, and then use your hips to come up, okay? Go ahead. Hips up, good. Remember to use your hips here. Good. Okay, nice. Rack it. So that's essentially the low bar squat. Now from here, we're going to increase the weight a little bit and see how he looks under a load. If this is your first time ever doing a low bar squat, I don't recommend trying to go for a 5 rep max. We want to progressively increase the resistance just a little bit every single time until we find a comfortable load. Okay, so for Preston, let's go ahead and try to see what he looks like with 135 on the bar. Okay, so stop. False grip, so thumb on top of the bar, heel of the palm in the bar. Okay, there we go. Slightly wider stance, toes turned out more. There you go. Big chest. Okay. Good. I'd like to see you shove your knees out more. Push your knees out to the sides. Knees, 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 hips. Good. That's your best one. 3 more just like that. Good. 2 more just like that. Knees, 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 hips. Good. Last one. There you go. Rack it. Nice. And that is the low bar squat.